Rodef Shalom was the first Jewish congregation in western Pennsylvania, located in the heart of the Oakland neighborhood in Pittsburgh. Founded in the mid-19th century, the congregation represents the early integration of American Reform Judaism in the religious, cultural, and civic fabric of Pittsburgh. For over 150 years, the congregation has pushed for the modernization of Jewish thought and practice.
Well, the first Jewish people to live in Pittsburgh on a permanent basis were here by the middle 1840s. And they tried to form congregations, but they were of different national origins and different styles of worship, so that kind of came together and then broke apart and came together again. But by 1856, Rodef Shalom had really emerged as the congregation that was going to stick. And the 25 men who signed the charter on behalf of their families, they were young. They had just come here, some from other places in the United States, but almost all originally from German-speaking areas in Europe. And they had growing families, they were starting businesses, they were really starting to have an impact as a separate but also integrated community with the rest of Pittsburgh's development. The charter established an organization for the furtherance of religion, the promotion of peace and tolerance, and educational purposes, which I think is a wonderful purpose for starting an organization. The synagogue that was built downtown in 1862 was the first synagogue in western Pennsylvania, period. And it was built on what's now 8th Street, quite near the Allegheny River. Most of the congregants at that time lived in Allegheny City, which is now the north side. And as the congregation grew, they started looking for other space, possibly on the north side, decided no, that wasn't right. They ended up tearing down the first building around 1900 and building a second building down there. And then there was this demographic shift of Jews from the north side and downtown to Squirrel Hill and the East End. The leaders of the congregation decided to follow that shift and put their building here, and this is where they wanted to say, we are part of the community, we deserve to be here, and we're going to build you a building that shows that.
The current synagogue dates back to 1907, designed by renowned American architect Henry Hornbostel. Rodef Shalom has a unique blend of traditional Renaissance grandiosity and modern materials of the early 20th century, often referred to as Beaux-Arts architecture.
The original architect was Henry Hornbostel, and during the design of this building, he was approached by a Spanish immigrant who said could design and build this dome more economically and faster without steel than as originally proposed with steel. And that person's name was Rafael Guastavino. All parts of this building have recently acquired landmark status. The real landmark focus is in the sanctuary. It's because of the type of construction that it was, with the Guastavino domes. Mr. Hornbostel, he's done a lot of work, a lot of landmark work in the city of Pittsburgh.
Big square mass with a dome on top of it. It just says we're here. And so this was a statement that the Jews of this congregation believed that they were part of the fabric of Pittsburgh and of America. This has been one of the largest and most active Reform congregations in the United States. And a very significant event happened here concerning the development of Reform Judaism. The rabbinic conference that met in 1885. It was 18 rabbis from all over the United States, and they formulated what's now called the Pittsburgh Platform. Pittsburgh Platform states that Judaism is a religion, not a race, not a nation, that it's guided by tradition but not bound by it. And it held sway until there was another conference that made another statement, and that wasn't until 1937. In 1904, our Rabbi J. Leonard Levy invited Booker T. Washington to speak here from the pulpit, have a black man preaching from the pulpit. It was an event. The place was filled. Then Rabbi Levy later went down to Alabama to work in a program there educating black Sunday school teachers. So it was a reciprocal arrangement. It was not a paternalistic thing. It was a reciprocity of equals. So that, I think, is really an indication of the openness of this congregation, and particularly that rabbi, to understanding humanity and its variations and its problems and ways to go about working to close those gaps.
I think that the leaders of this congregation have always wanted to be a part of that intellectual and arts community. And because it was this Reform Jewish congregation that highly educated, very interested in the arts, very assimilated, it made sense that this would be a place where those things could happen, and we had the space.
And then the visit of President Taft is also nationally significant. It was the first time that a sitting president of the United States spoke from the bima, or the pulpit, of a Jewish congregation on the Jewish Sabbath. Rabbi Levy knew that President Taft was coming to Pittsburgh for another reason, and he just wrote him a letter and said, "Could you come and speak with us also?" And President Taft later said, "It took the good people of Pittsburgh to make me go to church," as he called it, twice in one weekend. So that, I think, it kind of put Rodef Shalom on the map as far as national significance goes.
Inside the synagogue are stunning and elaborate ornamentations. Stained glass windows by Herman T. Schlattermuth. When passing through the majestic brass doors, the interior is embellished with applied faux mosaics in the style of Louis Sullivan, with a sensitive nod to natural and artificial light. A significant innovation of the time was the use of color both inside and out. The tall windows designed by Schlattermuth are flanked by Anne and William Willett's richly colored, inspired storytelling windows. Depicting the 12 tribes of Israel and approximately 9 feet wide and 36 feet tall, Schlattermuth's windows possess a distinct dignity of design as described at the time of their installation. Schlattermuth's octagonal skylight dome and semicircle balcony window are emblematic of congregants who value tradition yet embraced a modern approach to Judaism and life. To this day, when people enter the sanctuary, they gasp at its beauty. The exterior buff brick is embellished with soft pastel terracotta flourishes. It pairs with the gently cascading green tiled dome in the polychromatic design, a Kent Bloomer bas-relief facade, the procession sculptures by Albert Weinberg, and a biblical botanical garden with trees linked to the ancient land of Israel. This beautiful exhibition of plants has attracted visitors from around the world and serves as an extension of Hornbossel's grand design.
The biblical botanical garden that was started by Rabbi Jacob and his wife in the 1980s is also an ecumenical interfaith outreach. It's a small area, but it's really wonderful to see during the season, and it's become a real tradition for garden clubs and school classes. So that's another way of presenting the community to the wider community that works for everyone.
We're here, what can we do to contribute to this fabric of what's going on here? So for example, it's been a project to see what we could do with our front lawn to make it safe, from a security standpoint, but also inviting. And how can we do both things?
I think that one of the things that Rodef Shalom offers that a lot of people are hungry for is that community, is that feeling of belonging to a place that's bigger than yourself. By virtue of the space that we're in physically, has an opportunity to be a real community collaborator, be a real convener of different people, different organizations. We have a real opportunity to position ourselves to continue to be viable for generations to come.
Since its original construction, Rodef Shalom has modernized through the years with additions, like a 2-story wing designed by Ingham & Boyd. This wing has 2 floors of classrooms, Levy Hall that accommodates 300 people, and the Cohen Chapel.
The social hall, Freehoff Hall, were completed in 1954, and in the year 2000, there's a major renovations here as well as a substantial addition, which is the porte cochere and rooms on top of the porte cochere.
You feel small. For some people, that's religiously significant. I think other people, even if they're not Jewish, if they have some kind of spiritual something about themselves, can feel that here. You want to be in this beautiful space, but it's not just beautiful, it's also awe-inspiring. And it's in a prominent place. It's connected to the neighborhoods, it's connected to the universities, it's connected to the museums, to the cultural parts of the city. It feels solid.
Brick and mortar is always something you have to watch for. A lot of people think you build something out of brick and mortar and it's forever. No, it isn't. Things happen, you have to keep an eye on it and head off problems before they begin.
There's a phrase we use in Hebrew, dor v'dor, generation to generation. And if you look around this space, it's easy to get caught up in the grandeur, it's easy to get caught up in how beautiful it is, but it's as beautiful it is because of the work that our ancestors did to build it for us. I mean, it's up to each of us in each generation to take that work on ourselves and to ensure the continuity of our people from generation to generation.
Hornbossel's designs, Schlattermoon's and the Willits' designs, along with the various artists who decorate the halls and grounds of Rodef Shalom, have left the city of Pittsburgh with one of the grandest, most impressive congregations in the United States. Rodef Shalom, a house of prayer for all peoples.